There's a strange kind of silence that lives inside perfectionism. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's the quiet pressure you feel the moment you wake up, the weight that whispers, "Do better, be better. Don't mess this up." It's a voice that no one else hears, but you've lived with it for years, maybe even your whole life. And the hardest part, people think perfectionism is about being great, but deep down, it's usually about fear. Fear of being seen as ordinary. Fear of disappointing people. Fear of finally doing your best and still not being enough. Perfectionism isn't the pursuit of excellence. It's the fear of being human. Perfectionism doesn't show up out of nowhere. It's something we learn, often without noticing. Maybe you grew up in a home where praise felt conditional. You were celebrated when you achieved something. You were noticed when you performed well. You were treated differently when you delivered results. So your brain learned a simple rule. When I'm perfect, I'm loved. When I'm flawed, I'm invisible. And that rule follows you into adulthood. Quietly, you start tying your worth to your output. You measure your value by productivity, achievements, and how well you can avoid mistakes. You become hyper-aware of how people see you. Every move filtered through the pressure of not disappointing anyone. And, ironically, perfectionism becomes a place you hide in. It feels safe, predictable, controlled. But that safety has a price. Perfectionism builds walls, not confidence. You don't feel proud of what you do. You feel relieved that you didn't mess up. It's not happiness. It's survival. Perfectionists aren't actually trying to be perfect. They're trying to avoid the emotional chaos that comes with being vulnerable. If everything is perfect, you don't have to face judgment. You don't have to face rejection. You don't have to face the feeling of not being enough. But here's the twist. The more control you try to have, the more out of control your life starts to feel. You spend hours reviewing small details that don't matter. You avoid starting things because you're scared you won't finish them perfectly. You procrastinate because the pressure is heavy, too heavy. You overthink simple tasks. You over-prepare for things that don't require perfection. You apologize even when you didn't do anything wrong. And that's the real trap. Perfectionism convinces you that if you hold everything tightly, you'll feel safe. But all it does is keep you tense, exhausted, and afraid. Perfectionism almost always has a story behind it. It doesn't come from personality. It comes from experience. You might think you just turned out this way, but perfectionism is a survival response, a strategy your younger self learned in order to feel safe in a world that didn't always feel gentle. Maybe when you were a kid, mistakes weren't allowed to stay as mistakes. They were magnified, pointed out, turned into evidence that you could do better. Or maybe no one said anything at all, which, in some ways, hurts even more. The silence made you guess whether you were doing enough. You learned to fill the gaps with effort. You pushed, not because someone told you to, but because no one told you it was okay to stop. Some perfectionists grew up with high expectations. Some grew up with chaotic environments, where the only thing they could control was themselves. Some grew up unnoticed, so they tried to earn attention through achievement. Different stories, same lesson. If I do everything right, maybe I won't be hurt. Perfectionism becomes armor. It becomes your shield against disappointment, rejection, or even your own emotions. It's not about being flawless. It's about not wanting to feel the pain of being flawed. Inside every perfectionist is a voice, sharp, harsh, and impossible to satisfy. It says things like, "You should have done more. You should have known better. You should have started earlier. You should have worked harder." This voice doesn't celebrate your wins. It just waits for you to slip. And the painful part, You've heard it for so long you don't even question it anymore. It feels normal, familiar, automatic. The inner critic doesn't motivate you. It scares you. It turns your goals into battles. It turns simple tasks into tests you don't want to fail. That's how perfectionism traps you. By making you believe the only way to be worthy is to perform without flaws. But the goalpost keeps moving. No matter how much you do, it's never enough. Perfectionists look organized on the outside, but inside, it's chaos. You carry silent exhaustion, the kind that doesn't show in your face but shows in your breath. The kind that makes you feel heavy even when you haven't done anything physical. The kind that makes you question yourself at night, replaying every moment of the day, correcting things that can't be corrected anymore. People admire your discipline, but they don't see the pressure behind it. They see your consistency, but they don't see the burnout hiding underneath. And the truth, perfectionism isn't productive, it's paralyzing. You avoid starting things because you're afraid they won't be perfect. You avoid finishing things because what if someone judges it? You avoid taking risks because what if you fail? It keeps you stuck in planning instead of living, in preparing instead of trying, in thinking instead of moving. Perfectionism turns life into a constant exam, and you're always scared to be graded. There's a difference between having high standards and being trapped by them. High standards help you grow. Perfectionism stops you from even trying. High standards say, I want to do well. Perfectionism says, if I don't do this perfectly, I'm a failure. High standards come from confidence. Perfectionism comes from fear. People often mix them up because perfectionists look high. They look disciplined. They look reliable. But what's happening inside is different. You're not aiming for excellence. You're avoiding shame. And that difference changes everything. There's a strange thing that happens when you always want things done perfectly. Life becomes one long pause. You wait for the right timing, the right energy, the right mood, the right circumstances, the right version of yourself. You don't start the project because you're not ready. You don't send the message because it's not polished. You don't make the decision because you still need more clarity. So you wait, and you wait, and somehow, the waiting becomes your life. Perfectionism doesn't only make you aim high. It puts your entire life on hold until things feel safe enough to begin. But the trap is this. The perfect moment never exists. There will always be doubts. There will always be reasons to delay. There will always be a small voice telling you to wait a little more. And the more you listen to that voice, the more you lose time, not because you're lazy, but because you're scared. People think perfectionists fear failure, but it goes deeper. You don't fear failure itself. You fear what failure means about you. You fear being judged. You fear being misunderstood. You fear being seen as not enough. You fear confirming the things you secretly worry about yourself. It's not the mistake that scares you. It's the story that follows. Perfectionists often carry a quiet belief. If I fail, people will finally see who I really am. So you work harder. You prepare longer. You become overly careful, overly aware. Every decision feels like a risk. Every step feels like a test. Every imperfection feels like a threat. It's not the outcome that scares you. It's the identity you think it exposes. People rarely talk about how painful perfectionism can be. It's lonely. It's heavy. It makes you feel like you have to hide your flaws because flaws feel dangerous. You don't show weakness. You don't ask for help. You don't open up easily. You don't let people see your unfinished side. You want connection. But you show people a version of yourself that isn't fully real. And when they get close, you pull back. Not because you want distance. Perfectionism protects you from judgment, but it also isolates you from intimacy. You end up living between two worlds: the image you maintain and the person you never allow yourself to be. Perfectionism doesn't end with finishing something. It continues. You finish a task, then you check it again, then you adjust a little, then you fix a tiny detail no one else would notice. And before you know it, you've spent hours on something that could have taken minutes. You never feel done. There's always something you can improve. There's always something you could have done earlier, smarter, better. You don't rest after achieving something. You only rest when you're too exhausted to continue. It's not ambition anymore. It's punishment. If you reached this point, take a moment to breathe. Not to fix anything, not to improve yourself, just to exist without the pressure to be perfect. If this video helped you understand a part of yourself you usually hide, you can stay with this channel. We talk about the quiet things people feel but rarely say out loud. You can subscribe if you want more stories like this, or leave a comment if something in this episode hit closer than expected. But no pressure. Take what you need, leave what you don't. And maybe, tonight, let yourself be human, without the weight of being flawless.